Do that again. I want another one. Thom McElroy, welcome to the Passion Project, buddy.
Stoked to be here.
We were just talking a little about a surf. You had a good surf this morning up at Leisure World. It's amazing how things change over the years, right?
Oh, yeah. Just like growing up in Huntington, started off at Brookhurst with all the boys. I was like third generation. And this is before there was parking lots. You had to park on PCH or ride your bike in. So I rode my bike.
Of course. Hold on. Stop. We're going to get to all this. But it was a tee up because you're still surfing as much as ever. But we'll get to surf. It's a big part, but it's only part of it. I'm super excited about this. So before we get really deep into it, Thom, I have known of you for a very, very long time because of your role in the surf world. Growing up here in Newport and the surf mecca of the US right here, I knew of you. And I knew your brother Joe, or I know your brother Joe, because I'm closer, a little bit younger than you. But I never knew you. Like, I don't think I ever even met you, but I knew of you because you were in the middle of this thing that at its like apex, the surf industry, like, and we'll talk all about it and your role in it. And I just got to give it away because you're wearing it on your shirt. We were walking over, I don't know if you can see, but on Thom's left shoulder, there's a safety pin in his shirt. I'm like, Thom, you can't afford a better shirt than that? And what did you tell me?
Well, this is one of the first Volcom shirts ever made. And from 1990, it ripped finally, and I just put a safety pin in it.
But the fact is, that's one of the very first Volcom shirts
First
ever.
design.
That's the first design.
Yes.
Who designed it?
I did.
Exactly. So we're getting a little bit of color about where we're going with this, because Volcom is a huge part of your world, but it wasn't the first part. And so it's interesting, the business that you created, and we'll talk all about this. I'm just kind of setting up. So in case people don't know you, because again, for me, like Thom, I think of you like, I know you're a music guy, and we'll talk about that too. I think of you like the lead guitarist. Like the front man gets all the attention, but without a world-class lead guitarist, the band doesn't go anywhere. And I think of a lot of the brands that we're going to talk about, Volcom being one of them, like you are the driving creative force behind it, the marketing machine. You designed the Volcom Stone logo. Like all of this happens. Now, the front men, the Woolies of Volcom, the Bob McKnights of Quick, they get all the Danny Kwok's, all of which are friends of yours. They get the accolades and they're the front man, but a lot of this stuff doesn't happen without you. So that's where I go back. I remember McElroy Designs, your company,
Yep.
and I heard about all the work you were doing. But again, I was just a surf kid here, but that was the kind of enigma you had, but it wasn't the front man. So I would say that most people in the surf world have been touched by you from your design and the growth of the business and all the brands. But unless you were right here, they wouldn't know who you were. I think all the executives know exactly who you are because you've probably worked with all of them.
All of them.
But most people wouldn't. And that's why I think it's super fun to get you in here, because there's so much the story, like one layer down. It's funny because it reminds me of this. Wing Lam, who you probably know very well, he and his brother started Wahoo's. Wing's always like, my brothers and I can walk down the street, and those two, they don't get recognized, but they all recognize me. He's the front man. Mm-hmm. And I think of that too. You could walk down the street, you can surf out there, nobody would know you unless they know you until you get in the boardroom or in the design room or you're throwing marketing at the wall. Then everybody knows Thom McElroy. So
pretty much.
I think so, right?
Yeah, you nailed it. Basically, the design marketing guy, he's always kind of in the back, especially being a third party to all these companies. So, everyone was out in front, but, me and my staff was always like pumping away, making sure that every company looked good. The marketing was on point and it was relevant to what was going on at that moment. So that was a big thing for me.
I'm sure.
It had to be relevant, had to be on point, and it had to be well designed.
Yeah.
With thought behind it. So,
well, what's really interesting, and it's funny, Thom, because you went to school in San Diego. Listen, I'm all over the place. We will get back to the time machine and talk all the way through and how you got here, because that for me is always the really, like, how did you end up doing all this? But I went to University of San Diego a couple years after you graduated from San Diego State. And at USD, my degree, I've got a degree in art. But I realized going through that process that I don't have a creative mind. I can look at it and assess it and critique it. I can't create it. So I always have a certain respect, or a giant respect, for people that can not just look at, but can go and make something out of nothing. And that is most certainly you and the brands that you built and the company you built. So we're going to get there. But surfing is kind of at the core of all of this. And when we were offline, or maybe it may have been recorded, like you were just talking about your surf this morning with a couple of our buddies and still surfing hard. And you were talking about this Mexico trip. Just for context, you were surfing Mexico last week, 2 weeks ago.
During that last big swell.
Who were you just told me a couple of names. Who were you surfing out there with and who were you watching the whole time?
So basically I was staying at Craig Atkins' house, which is the best house on the East Cape, Baja. And my bedroom was literally at water level. And all I had to do every morning is just open my eyes and see the surf. And I usually would hear Jerry Lopez pulling up on his Razor mobile with 2 boards, foil. I mean, he had everything. And at that point, it was like, all right, time to get up, start stretching, have a little bite. And then all of a sudden, one by one, all the boys would show up. And
kind of the who's who.
The who's who of like old school and not necessarily new school, but there was a lot of roots out there.
Well, my suspicion, if Jerry Lopez, the iconic Jerry Lopez, pulls up and he's going to paddle out, you're going to paddle out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. One of the highlights was I caught a bomb outside and I'm coming around the section and all of a sudden I see Lopez on his foil in front of me. And he looked at me and he's like, oh, I'm way out in front, so I'm cool. But just to like see him in that classic style, just riding a wave with him, I was just blown away, just going, I have some roots back with him. We did a photo shoot with Hobie Eyewear. And Hobie, if people don't know, he developed the first polarized lenses. And Jerry was sponsored, Derek Dorner. The list goes on.
Who in Hawaii.
So, I got to spend 48 hours with Jerry and Derek and all the boys. And yeah, legend. Just watching Jerry look at pipe and talk about it, you're like, wow. Well, he is the Messiah.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing, Thom, that you're 3-ish decades in that world, in the role that you were in, working with all the brands. And we'll get brands in surf and many brands outside of surf that I think people will go, oh, you worked with them too? And we'll get into it. But your exposure to these people, and again, I mentioned some of the names that are your, not just peers, but they're your close friends. As a surf kid, not even a generation, a couple years younger than you, everybody that you spend time with are the people we look up to. The way you look up to Jerry Lopez, as do we all if we surf, but the people that are in your, on your phone, you can call any of them right now, are all the guys and women that we looked up to as the absolute icons. And growing up here, again, Quicksilver was based right here. And that's all we wanted back in those days, is to be part of that.
Yep,
and
exactly.
You were right in the middle of all of it. So it'd be pretty rad to go through your phone and see just who's in there that we could go text or call.
It's pretty classic. The phone list is pretty deep, and a lot of them, throughout the decades were really good friends, and some of the friends have fallen off, but just incredible to have that Rolodex, old school, of just people that I worked with, and not just working with, but got intimate in a way of figuring how to drive their company, how to showcase their company to the marketplace. And I'd be in everyone's office talking about this stuff, just going, holy wow, I can't believe I'm with this person right now. I'm pinching myself. And it was like that for close to 30 years. And,
it's so amazing.
And it's so cool to see those people, around town or on surf trips or wherever. So it's pretty cool.
Or foiling in front of you.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
So great. That's Jerry.
We're
sharing away. That's a pretty cool position to be in. And you just brought up some of the business side of it. For me, this is a great chat because we can talk. For me, it's the stuff I love to talk about, high performers. And in this case, it's in surf, it's in business, entrepreneur, big in the mentoring world. We'll talk about that. Just all the stuff that you've done and who you are. And you're still wearing now it's a Volcom shirt, but wearing a 30-year-old shirt. You just got out of the water. It's just a rat. I love the whole story.
Changed.
Nothing's changed.
Nope.
But things have.
but things have.
Right? But things have. So let's go a little bit in the Wayback Machine. So the other thing I didn't say, which you're picking up on, but Tom's a hammer surfer and has been for just as long. Like,
Since
and
I was
say
9.
national team when you're a kid. So let's go back. You don't grow up doing that without having a beach life and a family to support it. So you mentioned hunting. Let's go to the Wayback Machine. Where'd you grow up? I know a little bit about it. Let's talk a quick story about growing up.
Quick story. So, born in Los Angeles, Queen of Angels, downtown, East LA. My dad was LAPD, Alhambra PD. And our house was situated, our garage was in East LA and our house was in Alhambra. Grew up playing all the ball sports, football, baseball. And then when I was 9, my dad's like, we're going to move to Huntington Beach. And I'm like, we're all 5 kids are like, what? Why? You know, all our friends are here. And he's like, trust me, we're moving down. And my dad's not a surfer. He's from Iowa and my mom was from Illinois. So we're talking, this was a leap of faith for my father to move us all down.
Why? What was the motivation to move?
Because our neighborhood started getting a little sketchy. One Christmas, we all got Schwinn 10 speeds. Not all of us. Joe got like the little
Banana seat bike or whatever.
and they all were stolen like within the first 2 weeks. Oof. And so we got them back. That's another story. But and my dad's just like, you know what? I want my kids to have a better life. And so we moved to Huntington.
Where?
At Landon Bouchard, which is 3 blocks from the beach.
Yeah.
So great location. And when we were looking at the track homes to buy, we went down to the beach and I went down to river jetties and I was out on the groin and I saw a guy take off on a wave and ride it across and I went, that's what I want to do. That is what I want to do. So, you know, a couple months later, moved into our house, rode my bike up Atlanta Hill, which now I look at it, before I thought it was like this. Rode there, bought a 6'8" board at Steve Walden, rode home, was, you know, the guy taught me how to wax it and, you know, had one of the old bungee cord leashes. And my dad walks in, he goes, oh, surfboard, pretty cool. He goes, do you know what that leaf is on the nose? I go, I don't know, like a maple leaf.
There was a leaf?
A leaf.
Glassed in.
Glassed in. And he goes, I go, no, a maple leaf? I don't know. He goes, and then all of a sudden one day I was out surfing.
Oh, he didn't tell you?
No. Being a cop, you know, whatever.
Right.
I was we're catching whitewater at river jetties, and this old guy came by and he goes, whoa, check out that kid's board. He's got a marijuana leaf on the nose of his board. And I'm like, what's marijuana?
Oh my gosh.
So my first board had a marijuana leaf in the nose.
You've got your first Volcom shirt. You don't have your first surfboard?
No, I wish I did. That thing
fun.
was rad. But, you know, being 9 years old, carrying a 6'8" on your 10 speed to river jetties, Brookhurst, or north side of the pier, because I used to catch the whitewater. And like a guy would fall and turn around, catch the whitewater, stand up, and then get shore break. So that kind of like trained me to ride whitewater and catch waves.
But it sounds like you got hooked quickly.
Now, you know, 9 years old, school started at 8, and I would be the first person down in the water. First, my footprints had to be the first footprints on the beach at Brookhurst or river or wherever. And I would surf and be back, showered, and at school by 8 o'clock. And I did that, you know, start at 9. And when I went to Edison, I had surf team. So it just kind of continued. And
so you've never slowed down on surf. You're still like that.
I'm still
total
like that
frother
every day.
Yeah. And if you see his shoulders, or if you see him paddle prone, which we'll talk about, you can see that it has not. You have not slowed down. You've probably gotten even faster. It's pretty amazing.
I love paddling. Mm-hmm. You know, growing up in Huntington, there's no channels, so you learn how to duck dive and you learn how to paddle out far. Like Newport, you know, you get hit by a couple and you're out there. And then other places, I love long paddles because a lot of people can't paddle long distances. So they're the weaker paddles, so you're always the first guy out getting the best waves.
Well, you were also mentioning that when you were in Mexico, everybody's on kind of bigger boards and you're still riding short boards. And you're like, I'm sitting with all of them, but I got to be able to out paddle them on a bigger board. And you do.
And I had to. Yeah. Like people are looking at me going, this guy's never going to get waves. And I'm like, you know, Sano, I go to Sano, I'm running a 5'9" fish. And guys in the beginning when I used to surf there, they're like, what's with the pool toy? Right. And I'm like, you know, catching every bomb, sitting further out than they were, catching waves. And I remember one time Pasquid paddled out and he's like, whoa, you're riding that thing out here? I'm going to block for you. You're going to get every wave. I'm like, right on, brother.
Sold. Amazing. Amazing. Did you stop playing all the other sports when you found surfing?
Yeah. Everything dropped off real quick. By 10, 11, it was just soccer and surfing and beach volleyball. Kind of played around with that. And then by high school, soccer dropped off, surfing, beach volleyball. And then in high school, it was surfing. And then I played 4 years indoor volleyball for Edison.
Oh, wow.
And I just love, you know, the breakup of surfing and doing, because I always wanted to because I had my surf crew that I was really close to, but I always wanted to meet other kids that did other things. And so that's why I started, you know, playing volleyball. Plus I love it. It's just fun. It's fast and good for my ADD and just.
I know. I can appreciate that more than you might know. But it sounds like when you're cracking it, every single morning had to be my first footprints on the beach, and I'd be home, showered, and ready for school. Like, was it not only were you like a goer, it sounds like, but like, was school important? Like being on time and that type of stuff, was that all important too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. My parents were like very strict with schooling, and I went to Catholic school. You know, from 9th to 8th, or actually kindergarten to 8th grade. So I had that schooling, that structure, which I love. I love structure. I'm kind of OCD, so that kind of like helped me out. Anytime I would fade, schooling would like, and plus I had great teachers and great coaches that kind of mentored me to like keep me on my path. But schooling, was so important. And it came to a crossroads when in 1982, and
what was the crossroads?
So the crossroads was NSSA team, national team, traveling the world, surfing pro-ams, good results, and my sponsors were Billabong and O'Neill wetsuits.
And again, just for clarity, this is in high school, and you're on the NSSA national team, which is the highest amateur team in America. In the world. Highest rank. Who's on your team at that time?
Tommy Curran, the McNulty brothers, Jim Hogan, Doug McKenzie, Poole Rockland, Andy Wigmore, Alyssa Schwartenstein.
Yeah, but I mean, those first couple names.
Yeah.
McNulty's, Hogan, Curran, those are your guys. That's who you're traveling with and surfing with.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, audience, that's the caliber of surf we have sitting in here.
And that was a blast. The blast. Oh my God. Jim Hogan. Oh my God. Just the funniest guy. He was so funny back then.
San Clemente guy, right?
San Clemente. Yeah.
All of those.
And then, you know, Curran was always the Misto Enigma, just, you know, not really wanting to hang out with us, but wanted to, but had his own deal going on. And then, but the best thing was like going up and surfing Rincon and with Tommy and paddling out and just going, oh yeah, I'm with the man, and just watching him draw his lines. And I'm just like, wow, he's the best in the world at that age. And first time I saw him, it was me and Doug McKenzie were on the pier at Huntington before a contest, and the light was coming up, and I see this guy ride this wave, and we're like, whoa, who is that? And we're like, that must be Tom Curran. And it was. And I'm like, oh no, we're done.
Okay, is that the crossroads? Did you realize?
Well, that helped me make my decision.
Okay, is that the crossroads you're
Yeah.
referring to? So seeing someone surf like Tommy Curran, who went on 4-time world champ, 4 times I think, 3, 4,
Something like that.
when you see him in person and you're competing you're the same age, same level, and you see that, what does that do?
That just I rethought everything about how I surfed. I thought I ripped. And then I saw Curran surf and I'm like, I really didn't know how I surfed. I only saw photos, not video, because no one was videoing back then. And but I saw him ride a wave and I'm like, it was poetry. It was so beautiful and just flawless, effortless. And I remember PT and Ian were our
Peter
coaches.
Townend and Ian Cairns.
Yeah, and we had this workout, and I remember Ian going to Tommy, make it look more like hard. You make it look too easy. Make it like it's critical. And I'm like, oh, we don't have a chance but he wasn't the best contest surfer at that time. He ripped, but didn't know how to
strategy and all that.
Yeah, growing up.
That came in time.
Growing up in Huntington, you just learned how to back paddle and get waves and kind of be a dick. So,
were you good at that?
I was at one point.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Well, I was taught it.
Yeah.
By the best, so I did it, but then I frowned upon it, and I went away from it. But sometimes I'm like, I have a little of that in me.
Sure. I think we all do. If you surf, you kind of have
to. It's competition. It's competition.
For sure.
Everything's a competition.
A wave is a limited resource, right?
Exactly.
We all want it.
Exactly.
Okay, so you see Tommy Curran in person and you have this epiphany.
Yeah, epiphany.
What was the epiphany?
The epiphany was, wow, you know what? I should probably think about college as my next step.
As opposed to?
Going on the tour.
Is that where prior to seeing Tommy Curran surf in person?
After.
You thought you were going to be a pro surfer?
Yes.
That was the path you were on?
That was the path.
Unequivocally, that was it?
That was it.
And then Tommy just punching the face.
Yeah, that was one punch, yeah. And then I saw other kids and all of a sudden, I'm like, I was sitting down with Bob Hurley, who was running Billabong at the time, who shaped my surfboards, and I knew him since I was 15, like a second dad.
Oh, we love Bob.
Love Bob. And sitting in his office, and I'm like, Bob, I don't know, should I tour or college? He's like, what do you think? What's deep down inside? And I'm like, college. And he goes, yep. College. And so, he was pivotal in me deciding at that point where I should go. And thank God I did that because, by 20 years old, I was like kind of burning out and, contests weren't as important, even though they were important at some points because I needed points or whatever. But I started getting into music and just exploring other things. But yeah, I remember that point. And then I went to Orange Coast College as a business major. So I took all the business classes and art elective classes. And the art department there was just the best. And
had art always been something on your list?
Yeah, always doodled, drew, painted, but not hardcore because I was kind of like a surf jock. I was so involved in that and soccer and then volleyball. And so I only drew when my emotions were at a high point. So it was very emotional for me. And so I started taking these art classes, and I remember a professor my second year at OCC right before I graduated, he's like, Tom, so what's your major? And I'm like, business administration. And he's like, why? And I'm like, and the first thing that came to my mind was, my dad wants that. And I'm like, my dad wants me to be a business major. And he goes, so you're going to live your dad's life? And I'm like, it was like a 2x4 hitting me in the back of the legs. first time in a big, like a,
Significant impact. Boom.
yeah, big time.
Sounds like it hit you between the eyes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like boom. So I'm like, okay. And so this is right when, you start filling out applications for to transfer to a 4-year, and so I'm like, okay, I want to become a graphic artist. So applied at SLO, San Luis Obispo, and SCSU, San Diego State, and then I had to tell my dad. So
How'd that go over?
so I waited for my dad to come home from work, drove from LA to HB. I'm sitting on the couch and he walks in and he's like, Thomas, what'd you do? And I go, Dad, I didn't do anything. And he's like, what's wrong? I go, nothing's wrong, but I need to talk to you. He's like, about what? I go, I'm going to change my major. And he's like, what? To finance? And I go, no, to art. And he's like, oh, there's no way. There's no way you're going to become an artist. You're going to be penniless, living in the streets, and you're going to ruin your life. And I'm like, okay, let's back up. When was the last time I asked for money? Because I always had jobs. He goes, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I go, I won't be penniless. And I go, Dad, really? I'm going to live on the streets? I mean, look at the foundation you gave me. There's no way. And, I talked to your mother. So I talked to my mom, and my mom's like, I'm behind you 100%. I'll talk to your dad. And so I thought I was going to go to SLO. Went up for orientation and jumped in the water at Cayucas.
A little colder?
And I've surfed up there, Ocean Beach and whatever, but this morning was freaking cold. And I remember that first dolphin dive, and it hit me, and I just went, caught one wave, got in my car, drove home.
No way.
Didn't even go to orientation. And I call my mom. This is before parents were involved in like the whole deal.
Sure.
And I go, yeah, I just didn't like the campus. I'm going to SDSU.
Classic. That's so funny. But what's super interesting is it was different back then, right? It wasn't as parent heavy. And similar, I was super surf heavy. Like I only applied to San Diego schools, Santa Barbara, which was my first choice and I didn't get in, and University of Hawaii. Like I was not willing. Now I tell my kids and any other kid, travel, go far, go see the world. You can always come back, but go do something different. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't willing to do it. Like I stayed close to home. I went to San Diego, as did you.
How cool was that?
It was pretty amazing.
Amazing.
Right?
Back then,
yeah.
I mean, there was just like no rules. You can do whatever you want. You had Mexico 20 minutes away, party in Tijuana during the weekend, go surf K38.
Yep.
I grew up surfing K38 when I was 14, my first trip. So I knew Mexico all the way down to Ensenada, down, Cuatro Casas. I knew
it was a lot safer. We felt really good going down there all the time.
Never had a problem.
Yep.
Got pulled over, had a 20 ready.
Always.
Or a 5 or whatever. And, but yeah, that changed my life going there.
So really interesting. It sounds like, and I think there's more and more and more we'll get to, but you talked about seeing Tom Curran, talking to Bob Hurley, and then this teacher at OCC. People have had impacts on you. It sounds like you've had, this is kind of, I'm teeing it up where we're going, mentors or people in your court all along the road. And I know you do a lot of mentoring today, but it sounds like, have you had that benefit of people in your court along the way?
Oh yeah, definitely. From, teachers at the Catholic schools to John Rothrock at Edison, Orange Coast College. I had Laird Hayes was our surf team
really?
coach.
Laird Hayes was?
Yeah.
Oh, he's an icon here in Newport Beach.
Yeah, he was our coach.
You're kidding.
Yeah, and then that professor.
Wow.
But Laird was pivotal on keeping me on the tracks.
Isn't Laird Hayes an NFL?
He was ex-referee, linesman. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's made the best calls, legendary calls.
Totally changing gears just because Laird Hayes, he had a major impact on the Carlson Foundation or the Carlson family after Ben Carlson, who we'll talk about with the paddle. When Ben passed, Laird Hayes reached out to that family and took him under his wing and took him to a game at Green Bay.
Wow.
That's
cool.
I only know of Laird Hayes through reputation. I don't know him, but
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but amazing things about him.
Yeah, he, you know, I was by my second year at Orange Coast College. I started kind of like, you know, surfing wasn't that important, but it was because I wanted to win still. But Laird made me team captain second year, and that came with a lot of responsibility. There were 75 people in the class, but only I think 16 surfed. So there was a lot of guys trying for your spot, and he made me captain. So I had to show up every day, 15 minutes early, and warm everyone up, stretch and what have you, and talk a little bit. And one time, the waves were going off at River, and I was late because it was like the best day ever at River. Overhead, barrels, everything. And I came up late, and he yelled, and look at Thom McElroy walking up the beach, our team captain, late for class, and turned his head. Oof. And I went, holy crap, I let him down. He's done so much for me, paid for my trip to Hawaii through OCC. I mean, made it so easy for me, and I let him down. And I swear to God, to that point, that was a pivotal point too, that I went, I'm never going to be late. I'm going to be on time or before to everything. And I've lived by that because of that one moment when he called me out. And still to this day, I talk to guys on the team. We had a reunion, and they're like, remember that time that Laird called you out? And I go,
Changed my life.
Changed my life. So
dude, I love that. Don't always learn by good stuff, right?
Yeah.
That smack between the eyes or the back of the legs, as you said, like those leave a mark. But those have left some really good marks on you so far.
That was a good one.
Hallelujah, dude. That's so cool. Listen, you're in OCC. You've taken this lesson from Laird Hayes. You're going to San Diego, surfing and working hard. What was college like? And maybe at that time, you've changed your degree. You've figured out you didn't want cold water, you wanted warm. You're at San Diego. Did you already, when you're there and you're in the arts now, did you ever like have a magic wand, like, I want to go do this? Like, I see my career going this way. Did you ever have one of those moments, or did it take time to figure out where you were going?
It took 30 years.
Oh.
You know, I never sat and went, oh, I want to be this, or I lived in the moment, and I charged the moment. Anytime that my gut was telling me to do something and I didn't, I failed. There were sometimes I failed doing what the gut said too. So, but more often, if I didn't go off my gut feelings, it wasn't the right move.
So a strong internal compass.
Yeah.
You've kind of learned in reflection, you look back, you're like, I've been pretty good when I follow my gut. Is that what I hear?
Yeah. And I really didn't get into planning business-wise until probably 2 years into McElroy. And that's when I started doing research about growing a business, and after that, I flourished because I had a plan. I had a budget going into the next year. I followed this plan. But the rest of life and everything else, it wasn't like I wanted a bigger house. I needed more money. I didn't chase that. I just chased happiness. I wanted my family to be happy. I wanted to be happy with my friends. And I wanted to be happy with myself. And, I was fortunate to have all my offices right by the beach so I can surf at lunch. And that was mandatory, not just for me, but my whole staff. And if they didn't surf, then I'm like, get out of here, go swim, go do something active. Wow. And so I only hired people that were on that frame of mind. They had to be on my program of like staying healthy, having a lot of fun, and showing up and doing your best work possible every single day.
Thom, that's magic. And it also predates. You're talking 80s?
80s. So I graduated in 85, worked for Vision Skateboards for 2 years. Yep. And I learned a lot there. I got slapped around by my old boss, Brad Dorfman, and he taught me a lot how not to run a business, but he was very successful. But there was things that I picked up on what he did right and what he did wrong. And the worst thing he did was he treated people poorly. And I learned from that. So I left there. I started making $6.50 an hour, my first job out of college. I couldn't even tell my parents. Couldn't even tell my girlfriend at the time.
This is at Vision Skateboards that you mentioned?
Vision Skateboards. But I was working on iconic boards, the Mark Gonzalez, the Psycho Stick, every Gator board, like every pro skater I was meeting because I had to work on their boards. So I was intimate with all these legends coming up, like, you know, Pierre Andre, who started 23, to Don Brown, you know, all these like legendary skaters that Paul Schmidt, and I'm just like going through the list. I worked with these guys every day doing the boards and their stickers, their shirts, and yeah, it was just crazy. But I started freelancing at night, and that paid the bills. And that freelance got so big that I'm like, you know what? I'm going on my own.
It's the old side hustle.
The side
you keep
hustle.
doing the side hustle until it becomes your main hustle.
Yeah.
That's exactly. So let me go back. Like all of these things, this is late 80s, early 90s. You're talking about kind of like the same mantra that let my people go surfing from Yvon Chouinard with Patagonia. Like you're way ahead of that. Today, it's all 4-day work week. It's the balance. It's make your workplace fun and everything. Like all the tech companies have tried to do this. You did this 30 years ago.
Yeah. But serious, like you had, like when you were at work, we played, we had a great time, but it was serious. Like we pushed the envelope in youth marketing. We pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And I always would push people like, what's going on? And once I learned how to delegate, the company grew because I always thought I had to have my hands in everything. And a guy who worked for me said, you know what, you need to like step back, let people do their jobs. And boom, I'm like, duh. So I started hiring people way better than me, smarter, faster, you know, and my company just went like this.
How much of that was learned? How much of it was just influenced? Like, were you reading it? Was it mentors? Was it just this guy that says you need to step back? Like, or was it a combination? Like, how did you figure out this business strategy? It's so funny because your dad was mad when you threw away the business degree to go after graphic design, but like the business, like you have your PhD in business, right?
Oh yeah, firsthand. Yeah,
sure.
I was the case study.
In what way?
Yeah, because I was the company that was actually doing it. You know, I meet so many kids that are like, oh, I read this case study. And I'm like, you know what, whatever. The case study starts the day you start your company. You are the case study. And they're like, what does that mean? I go, you'll learn what it's all about. Because you can read it, look at it, but until you live it, you don't know how gnarly it is to be an entrepreneur. You don't know. You put everything out, you risk everything daily, and hopefully you pull something back at the end of the day, but it's gnarly. It's like you punt every play.
Dude, that is so incredibly well said, and I can tell that you have these conversations often. When did you realize that you're an entrepreneur? Like, was it a goal, or did it just happen naturally as your side hustle of, you know, after hours work became your main hustle? Did you ever think I want to own my own business? Was that ever part of it?
Not in the beginning, but I had a neighbor in Huntington, Paul Oxman, who had a publishing company who did posters for Formula One, Indy racing. Then he got into magazines. And so I worked for him growing up and rolling posters and doing shipping and stuff. And he was the ultimate entrepreneur. Anything that was new and exciting in the racing world, he was on it. And so and he used to drive me to work when I swept his warehouse. And he would talk to me about like, work for yourself. And then but it was still really scary. But when I stepped out on my own, I was so positive and confident that I could do it. Because my last boss, if he could do it, I could do it. So, that was kind of like the chip I had on my shoulder. And then once I got into it, I never ran in the red. I was always in the black. I worked my ass off 7 days a week. If I had to pull all-nighters especially when Volcom came in, and, it was gnarly. I just gave up Christmas Eves for a Vans. When they launched their boots, they needed a catalog done for the day after Christmas for a trade show or something. And so I worked Christmas Eve, put the kids to bed, went back to the office. I didn't take one day off. I let my staff go. I lost it because I missed out on so much.
Thom, we talked about a mutual friend, and I had mentioned when we were offline that I remember years ago he told me, it's like, Mark, what nobody sees or what nobody knew is that, I didn't take a day off for 10 years. He's like, I just grinded. I didn't take a holiday. I didn't go out. I just grinded. And now he's wildly successful. He's earned it all. And I think people probably go, oh, he's lucky. Oh, his parents gave it to him. No, it's all self-made. And so people like you that have just created something out of nothing and figured it out along the way, and turned it into something friggin' magic and like industry does like fashion changing. Like you've left a mark on, as I said at the beginning, anybody that's surfed over the last 30 years, you've touched them from a design perspective in ways that they have no idea.
Yeah.
And outside of surf.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you went out on your own and started your own McElroy?
I was 25.
And this is McElroy Designs, is what you called it at the time.
Yeah, at the time.
What was the walk us through where this went and who you were working with?
Okay, so there was a year and a half right when I left Vision. I had a partnership called Mormac, and we did private label for Macy's and Nordstrom, their surf line. We got to the point we had printing presses and we're growing. I was working day and night because I was doing so much. I was still doing skateboards for pros to T-shirts to full clothing lines, and we brought in a partner because we needed money to grow. Our accountant. And
so there ends up being three of you in this partnership at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So about a year and a half into it, I'm sitting on the couch on a Sunday, like I haven't taken a day off in I don't know how long. I'm in a little condo in Irvine, open the door, and this guy hands me a letter, and he goes, "You've been served." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Open it up." I open it up, and it said, "To Thom McElroy, special board meeting tomorrow, subject the termination of Thom McElroy." And I'm like, "What the?"
You can say those words here, by the way.
I said, "What the fuck?" And so all of a sudden I went into stress mode. Brand new baby.
Oof.
Condo. I'm like, at 25, I didn't have all the knowledge that I have now. Like, you'll be okay. And I went to this meeting. We sat down and they said, "Okay, you're terminated. Here's your last check. We'll buy you out. Here's the check for that. We're taking you off all leases, whatever," because they used me on all the leases for the guarantor because I had
Credit.
assets.
Oh, yeah. You were the collateral.
I was collateral. My partner, Gary Morgan, had nothing. He was a loser. And so, and then, I'm like, okay. I went to Paul Oxman, my neighbor, and he said, "You can work out of my office in Fountain Valley, and let's go." We went to a bank. I met the manager. I got my checkbook, the big one with the carbon copies, and I started McElroy Designs. Brand new baby. Day that I started McElroy was the day my son was born.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was a game my DBA at Daily Pilot. And
What was the fallout from, or the impact or anything? Like, what did you learn? And maybe more important, like, was there any fallout after that?
oh yeah, yeah. After Mormac, I was sued for $450,000
Oh.
because all the creditors came after me.
Oh, your name was still on?
Yes,
On the leases?
They didn't take them off, and I didn't know to like.
Right.
You know, I was.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, you know, I just got my first pubic hair. I didn't know what was going on. So, you know, it was like, what do I do? And so I went to court and I filed BK
Wow. At 25, 26.
at 25. And, you know, hard lesson. But I knew, whatever, BK. Went to court. Everything was dismissed. And then I started McElroy Designs with no credit and whatever. And I built, but I still knew the manager at that bank. And she didn't care about credit. She cared about character. And she knew that Paul Exman was running millions of dollars through that bank. So I was aligned with Paul. So I got credit lines whenever. I paid those off immediately. So credit lines got better and better for me, paid off everything. And that's McElroy Designs. And at that point, I was working with all my sponsors growing up and my friends, Billabong, Bob Hurley, Danny Kwok at Quicksilver, Counterculture.
Was that Jack at Counterculture back in those
Jack,
days?
yeah. Even with, what was his other line?
Instant Jungle? Something Jungle?
It's, yeah, Jungle.
Not Instant Jungle. Something Jungle.
yeah.
World Jungle.
World Jungle.
Oh my God, pull that one out of that.
Yeah, that was a
amazing.
good pull. Jack was amazing.
Yeah.
God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Super rad guy. So I worked with all these guys, O'Neill, and that was my client base. And then I started getting all these guys that wanted to start new companies. And so I started like doing their work. And I grew McElroy Designs and you know, it evolved into McElroy Communications.
What's the difference? Why change it from designs to communications? Just a wider offering?
Offering. And it just sounded a little more
Big
and
whatever.
more
Legitimate.
foo-foo, legit, whatever.
So what were you providing to clients at McElroy Communications?
At McElroy Communications, full service agency, we did everything from design, branding, media buying, research. We had our own research, which was insane how we came about that. We're full service. So that was very attractive to the bigger companies wanting to come into the action sports world.
And
like
what was
Killer Loop?
Yeah. And what was again, my mom always says luck and timing, and you make your own luck or whatever, but
Create it.
right, you create your own luck. You were also doing this at the time. What was going on with the surf industry at the time that you were building your business at this point, McElroy Communications?
It was growing throughout the 80s. There was a blip like 90, 91, 92. And then after that, it was just full tilt boogie. We're talking elevation.
Rocket ship.
Yeah. ASRs were 2 floors down. And
That's the Surf Retail Show.
Yeah.
Right?
And that ASR in San Diego, it was just insane. The trajectory was just like.
And you guys at that time were working with a lot of the brands?
Yes. Vans was one of our biggest clients. Quick was. And then we started getting into the video gaming world.
So this is interesting, and this is where anybody that surfs, I don't know if people know this part, because I didn't know this part until I really started digging in. So although, as I said earlier, I knew of you and I knew a lot of the brands you worked with, I didn't know any of this. So can you tell us like who you were working with, what were you doing, and what that evolved into?
So Activision reached out to us to launch Tony Hawk's game. So we're like, yeah. So all of a sudden, Activision became one of our biggest clients. Wow. Every game that came out, we were like, McElroy can do it. So that's how we got into the video game world. And we just flourished.
And that gives you so much additional credibility to all the other industries that start looking for someone to bring people into this youth market, right?
Yep. And then Mattel reached out to us, and then all of a sudden we're doing, doing all the bodyboard designs. Then all of a sudden a new toy would come out that was like more kind of alternative action sport driven. We would do those, brand market it. So we had toys, we had video games, surf, skate, snow. And then in the background was Volcom.
Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there in just a minute. The peak of your powers at McElroy Communications, how big were you guys? How many people on staff? How big?
So we were peaking 98, 99, 2000, or no, I mean 2008, 2009. At that point, we just helped brand the Xbox.
Wow.
And so we were working with Microsoft on their games too. So we were at doing about 40 million, and we had on and off 48 people working at McElroy. And at that point, I wanted to even get bigger. And so I started putting the feelers out, talking to big agencies like, hey, would you bring on a partner, what have you? And one day I got a call from Volcom Building, and they're like, could we have lunch?
They're one of the big 10?
Yeah, they were $5 billion. Yeah. We're the second biggest agency in the world. Wow. And I'm like, sure. So we had a sit down, but Ron Best, the president, came into my office, and I'm like, oh, I had the portfolio ready, the reel, everything. And he goes, I don't want to see it. Go to your office, leave me alone. I'm like, okay. So he just walked around our office, chatted with everybody, kind of talked. He was full suit.
The only suit in the building, I'm sure.
The only suit in the building. We had put suits on. Samsung was a client once for a couple of years. That's another story. But, and everyone's like, who is this guy? Walking around with a coat on, and then he walks in the office. He goes, let's go have lunch. So we have lunch, and I'm like, what do you think? You didn't see my portfolio, my reel, nothing. He's like, I know what you do. He goes, I want to buy you. And I'm like, I'm not for sale. I just want to build an alliance and work with somebody as a third party. He's like, no, I'll make it worth your while. And I'm like, okay. And he wrote down a number, and I looked at it, and I'm like, awesome. I'm like,
right.
Negotiate. And all of a sudden we came to a great number, and I loved Volcom Building. I met him, the chairman of the board. I went to New York, Chicago, saw the offices, and I'm like, I love these people. They're actually really cool. And then they buy us, and it was hard. I cried nights, like endlessly for nights. My staff did. And, I got a windfall. My partner, Thom McElroy, windfall. And I gave money out to every employee.
Awesome.
Because they helped me get to where I was.
For sure.
So we get folded into FCB. We move up to Irvine, built out a beautiful office. We had my surfboard shaper DLC do 128 boards that wrapped, hanging from a 40-foot ceiling, and they were stacked. And that was the boardroom, like walls. It was just badass.
I have one board in my boardroom. You got 128. I like yours better.
But all of a sudden, I was getting pulled to New York once a month or twice a month, and all of a sudden I was losing my life. Surfing, snowboarding, my family suffered. Everything was suffering because I was out of whack.
Yeah. And
the crucial part of me leaving, I signed a 4-year contract. After two plus years, they had Taco Bell before they bought us. They lost it to Shy Day in Venice, and we tried to get it back. They hired, McElroy did all of the creative. And so we had a meeting in San Francisco, And I knew a guy at Taco Bell. He was in the conference room. We're walking in to present, and the world chief
From
blowjob says, "I got it. You guys go have lunch and have the day off." And we're like, no, we have to present. There are ideas. And he goes, "We have it." And my two guys with me just went bonkers. They're like, "Are you kidding me?" So we're in San Francisco at their office up there. And we went to lunch and got shit-faced. And we were like, "Oh, I can't believe this." And at that point, I'm like, I have to make a change. And so the next week I went into HR. She was a really good friend. And she and my lawyer kind of like talked and put my exit plans together, and phew, I was gone. And McElroy stayed alive. And one by one, they let people go, and guys got kind of like melded in, and McElroy FCB diminished.
Done. Well, listen, I'm sure there's a lot of discussion, and we'll have some more about when you sell a business. When I buy a lot of businesses or stores. There's an art and a science, and it never goes perfectly, but it has to be an alignment of all the players, and you can see that kind of misalignment. And I know from you and your culture. Let me ask you this. So we didn't use the word, but I know culture is a big part of what you built into your operation. If we could go in the Wayback Machine to the peak of your powers before you sold, and we walked into your offices, what would it feel like? Like if I walked in there right now, what would I see and feel like? What would I feel if I walked into McElroy Communications when you guys were on your A game?
First of all, you'd walk in and go, "I want to be a part of this." Everybody was like, athletes and good looking. And I mean, the office was bitchin' art. And I mean, it was just beautiful. And plus we had cruise zones where you can come in and clients can sit on couches, and we had trees over it. I mean, indoors. It was just bitchin'. It was just so nice. And clients would always want to meet in our offices to, number one, check out our chicks and that worked there that were like MBAs and gnarly and see our work. And so we didn't have to drive to see clients. They came to our offices, and which was great because Vans was so far away. And then, Activision was in not Studio City, but kind of like the South Bay area.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It just felt the vibe. Like we had characters too. Tim Lovis, our production guy, cowboy hat, glasses on, sometimes Speedos and cowboy boots, rocking it.
Yeah.
And that's how we worked. We had to have fun, but it was serious. We never missed a deadline. And we would, like I said, whatever it took to make a deadline, we did it. And, it was stressful.
Yeah, got it.
It was stressful.
Now, you had brought it up before, and you're wearing it on your shirt. At the same time that you're doing all of this, you've got this other side hustle that went on to become a very, very, very big main hustle. Can you talk about Volcom, your role in it, how it started? Because there's the story of the brand, and then there's the story behind the story of you and Danny Kwok, and you're rolling it while you're doing both of you are doing all this other stuff, but you're over here building this brand with Richard Woolcot, and talk about the story of you and Volcom.
Yeah, so in 1990, Quick was my biggest client, and I worked really closely with Danny. We competed against each other. I mean, we were like friends in the water, and Rich was his assistant. And one day we're just talking. Pirate Surf was, at the time, the only company that was doing surf, skate, snow, more skate and snow. And Quick bought them and closed the door on Yokoyama and Mark, and it went away. So we're like, let's do surf, skate, snow company. And so we started talking about it. And at first it was Stone Boardware. And so we couldn't afford a lawyer, so I'd go to UCI to look up names in their basement in their trademark department. So I'd look up names of all the names we had. Stone boardware wasn't taken. So I get back, I'm like, it's good. And
Yeah,
we put up-
way pre-internet. There's no like.
there's no internet.
Yeah,
You can't
you're-
Google.
Right.
Yeah, kids ask me that. Why don't you just Google it? Because Al Gore didn't invent it yet. Oh my God. So we put an ad out in Beach Happy, and all of a sudden we got a cease and desist from Stone Jeans in LA. And we're like, whoa, that's pretty gnarly. So we had to change our name. And just all the boys got together and started putting words together, volume, velocity, and Rich's nickname was Malcolm from Wall Street, the movie. And
Why was that his nickname?
I don't know. Him and Danny had this thing about Malcolm, like, you know, who could be gnarly, and plus Rich's dad was like a heavy hitter on Wall Street, like gnarly. And so I don't know, his nickname was,
Got it.
you know, Malcolm. And so we put two words together, and we're like, no one has this name. No more cease and desist. But the corporation is Stone Boardware, but DBA is Volcom. So Volcom Clothing.
And what year? What year was this?
We started at the end of 1990, incorporated in 91.
And again, you're still growing, and
McElroy.
your main hustle,
Paying the bills.
Yeah, you're and you're growing it exponentially at that time.
Yeah.
Everything we're just talking about, you're also doing this over here.
Yeah.
Kind of unbeknownst. Did anybody know that you were doing this?
No, I had to stay silent, just like Danny.
Yeah. So
At the point Danny was marketing director at Quick, I'm talking with the McKnights, the Hurleys, the Vans of the world. So no one could know. I had to be silent. Danny had to be silent. And Volcom, their first office was in the same building I was. And so that's how we kind of funneled it. And then, you know, they were always across the street or down the street. So all the marketing came through McElroy. And in regards to the stone, so when I design a logo, I'm really into research. I research anything and everything about the subject matter of a company. And with Stone Boardware, I got into mythology, I got into geography, I studied, you know, everything about the earth and stars, and all of a sudden it came down to, I had stacks of books. My brother Joe would go grab books at the library and had books, and got this one book, opened it up, and the chapter was, it was a geology book, and it said the diamond, the most precious stone. And it was just this thin little pamphlet and all line drawings. And I opened it up, and there was a diamond cut in half. And it was flat on top like this with the point, and it was fat. And I'm like, wow. And this is like before computers. This is like, computers were there, but my SE30 was this big, my Mac, 8 megabytes of hard drive.
Right.
8 megabytes. That's one photo today. And so I'm like, whoa. And I sketch it out on tissue, and then tissue after tissue, and everything I was doing back then was positive, negative, black and white. And it was really squatty, and it was sitting on my desk with the point kind of towards me. And Danny walked into my office to go over ads for Quick. He's like, you know what? It looks better with it pointed up. And I'm like, you're right. And so we all talked. And so what I did was I compacted it, tightened up the lines, and then it became the Volcom stone. So the Volcom stone is the soul of a diamond.
It's so
Stone
rad.
boardware.
Stone Boardware. You know, the thing that's so crazy and cool from, like, you think about pure marketing, for years and years and years, we all speculated what Volcom meant, and we all speculated what the stone represented. And then years later, RUCA, like, what does it stand for? Like, the enigma that you guys have created through that, it lasted for I don't know, 20 years until we all started to, like, maybe you guys told the story, but like nobody knew what it meant.
Yeah.
But we knew what the branding and the taglines you guys had was very, very clear. What Youth Against Establishment is probably like the most memorable tagline I can think of.
I almost wore that shirt today.
I bet. But like you guys were so clear on who your customer was. And I mean, it was so big around here. And again, growing up here, like you watched that stuff. Everybody wanted to be quick. And then quick got a little too mainstream. Everybody wanted to be more core and Volcom. And, you know, like I lived through it. What was really interesting, Thom, is that I was in Australia in 1993 and I saw Volcom ads up there. And, you know, I'm 2 years younger than Wooly and I went to high school. Like I was here watching it happen and I'm in Australia and I'm like, oh my God, they're onto something. Like, what's it doing here? I just thought it caught. I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was, and then
pretty crazy.
Really, really, really crazy. How long between the time that you guys started it and started building it and people were able to find out about your role in it or even Danny's? Was it not until it sold or until
we went public? Yeah. The prospectus came out and before in 2004 and Danny, Richard, Danny, Renee Woolcot, and me, you know, the four biggest shareholders, we're like, Danny got fired that day. Danny's like, but Bob knew all along.
Did he?
Because Danny told Bob that that Stephanie, his ex-wife, invested in it. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah, right.
But nobody knew about me. They had suspicions because they saw how much Volcom stuff came through my office for the first 5 years and a little bit later. But everything ran through McElroy. That was my investment, sweat equity and money. I had to pay all the bills for ads and everything. And then it got to the point where Volcom needed an in-house marketing. And so Ethan Anderson came in and just crushed it, took it to a whole new level. Him and his staff just crushed it. Ethan is like one of the most talented artists I know.
And when that happened, did that lessen the load on you?
Yes. And thank God, because what was happening was McElroy was going like this and Volcom was going like this. So we didn't have the time. And plus by then, Volcom, you know, was self-financed and it was on its way.
So let me ask you a question. You've got your side hustle, Volcom, your main hustle, McElroy Communications, both on a rocket ship.
Yeah.
And here you are in the middle of this. And one is totally secret. Clearly there's, and you would, well, at some point around there is when you sold McElroy Communications.
In 99.
So you've got money. I know it wasn't the driver, but like you're all of a sudden, you're like, would you ever stop and look around and go, how the hell did I get here?
Oh, all the time. And it happened always out in the water, waiting for sets. So you're staring out at the horizon and you're just like thinking about things, you know, running a racket. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, so blessed. How rad is this? I'm in the water waiting for a wave and I have all this behind me, everything I wanted. It was so awesome. And there was pivotal points where it was like, pinch myself, how lucky. But then I think, oh my God, how much did I give up? What risk did I take? What did I ruin? What did I make better? Like all these things. So, you know, all those things play in your mind, but at the end of the day, I'm smelling the roses. And living in the moment helped me so much. Anytime I got out of my element where I didn't know an answer to something and I bullshitted, fell flat on my face. And I learned never bullshit if you don't know. See, you'll get back to you. So yeah, it was just crazy. It was moving so fast too. Like life was so fast.
Yeah.
And I just love to have every minute from being in the office at 7, making the coffee for everyone, surfing at lunch, coming back, or waking up at 5, go snowboarding locally with Danny and whoever else, be back in the office by 12.
Wow.
And if the waves were good, surf for an hour and then go back. But yeah, every lunch was, Minute King sandwiches, Wahoos, or Taco Bell, 9th Street in Huntington. It was just like wherever we surfed or did our deal. And a lot of things happened at that Wahoo's, a lot of talks. And a lot of talking going, waiting for a sandwich at Minute King Liquor from other companies, because all the companies were in the same neighborhood. So I got to talk with everybody, grabbing a sandwich. And out surfing, I was surfing with everyone, and you talk about business and everything. So it was like a constant snowball of just this energy that was growing and growing, and there was no end to it. It was so cool.
Well, if anybody gets to use the term, like I made a lot of deals in board meetings, like figuratively on a surfboard, having conversations or having epiphanies or being like, dude, that's like, I think what everybody dreams about that you've created.
Yeah. And it's the drive to the beach, putting your wetsuit on, walking to the beach, paddling out, all this, there's talk. You sit out there, you see everyone else. You come to the parking lot, everyone's there, you talk. I mean, it's just like this sharing ideas, and it was just so, just so full of life and energy and just insane.
That's magic.
And everybody was on the same deal. Like, we're going.
Well, all of us non-surf industry guys, like I would look at all my friends surfing at lunch, go, fuck, don't you have a job? How do you get to do that? And the reality is, if you were doing it right, you were making deals and networking and like it didn't work that way. I didn't have that industry. There's nobody from the hardware industry going surfing at lunch other than me. So I always felt guilty about trying to go out and do that. And as a result, I never did it. Mm-hmm. You guys got to do it and like not monetize it per se, but you did. It was part of the deal.
Part of the deal.
Epic.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I could spend all day on this, but you mentioned you guys go public in like early 2010, 2011, 2005.
Yeah.
Is that when did you stay on beyond that?
No. So I actually only worked physically at Volcom for a year and a half. So once I sold McElroy, I'm like, I'm done.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I'm going to retire.
That's the crossover right there. Gotcha.
I'm going to retire. Had meetings with Rich. He said, come aboard. Came aboard, opened up the store, first store up in LA on La Brea. Did a bunch of, redesigned the art studio, just did all the stuff. And after a year and a half, I was just like capping.
What do you mean?
Capping from just, I'm done.
Done.
Because, working 2 jobs for, since I graduated.
Yeah.
I got to a point where and plus then, I was getting dividend checks from Volcom. And so, I'm going to retire. And
how old were you at that time?
I was 42.
Let me ask you a question. Your parents still alive at that time?
Yes. Oh, no.
No?
My mom just passed 2 years prior.
Okay.
When I turned 40.
What about Dad?
Yes, he was alive. He just died last year.
He did. All right. What did he think about your success when he's like, you're going to be penniless?
He was the biggest cheerleader. He was. He didn't know anything about surfing, but at my contest, cheerleader. Soccer, anything. But he didn't understand what I did. He just couldn't understand it because he was from a different world. But he saw the success and the things, the assets that I acquired and everything that grew and with it. But, every Christmas, birthday, new Volcom stuff, he would wear it. Joe was working at Billabong and Hurley, so he had Billabong Hurley stuff.
Dad was well outfitted.
He was like rolling.
That's so
He
great.
was rolling. But yeah, he was really, really proud.
That's super cool. Congrats. That's really a cool story. So we could talk about that stuff all day. I'm so intrigued by it, but I'm a little bit more intrigued if it's cool, just talk a little bit about more like the impact on you and the impact these people you have in your life. So one of the things that I get from you is, and we talked a little bit about it, mentoring. When you retired, let's talk about mentoring for a minute. I've heard you talk about it, and I always say in here, like, I have a very similar view of it. For me, like, you learn just as much from your best coach, teacher, mentor from your worst, right? Like, I want to be like this person. Don't be like that person. People that are kind of neutral, I always say they're kind of vanilla. You know, it's funny, Bob Hurley, I always say, be like Bob is one of my mantras, because the kind of environment that you talked about is the environment he created. And when I had an opportunity to walk, everybody walked through, and they're all like, Bob, come over here. Hey, Bob. And it's so cool that I've gotten a chance to know him and
sweetest,
Danny.
Him and Shelly, the whole family, just.
But what's the impact of the mentors on your life? Call it pre and post retirement, and then what have you done with that kind of view of the world?
So after I retired, I got involved in a lot of startups, and I consulted, invested. A lot of them went under. I thought whatever I touched was going to turn to gold. It didn't. So I got slapped around a lot, but I consulted with a bunch of people. And I always got calls from people that just got fired or wanted to make a move or wanted to start a company. And so I would meet with them, and I did this all for free. I never charged a dime, because so many people gave me so much that I wanted to give back for free. And it was important to me. And so, I was hustling around after I took my 6-month
break.
Break. Cool. I did nothing. No phone, nothing.
Oh, beautiful.
Sort of twice a day, snowboarded, 50 days. I mean, it was like nothing.
Yeah, rad.
And then I got offered to mentor at Newport Harbor High School. And it was like the inaugural year for one of the first years, 8 people in the library. And so I started mentoring there. And then I got a call from San Diego State that they were opening up a new entrepreneurial kind of like program. Do you want to be a mentor? So I started mentoring there. And that was at a different level. So you had high school kids that were going through their stuff and trying to figure out their life. And then you had college kids doing the same thing, but at a different level, which was kind of cool because you got to see the leap from high school to college. And then from there, I did another mentoring program at SDSU. And then I was asked to get on the board, and then the executive committee. And then all of a sudden, I was just like doing everything down there. Mentoring, and then sitting on the board, committees, chairing committees, alumni committees. I mean, that was for 15 years. And then it got to the point where they needed to rebrand the school. And so I got a call. And the first Zoom, there was like 50 people. And I'm like, this is not going to work. Too many cooks in the kitchen. And I called the VP and I'm like, no way. I can't be involved in this because half of the people don't know anything about branding. Yeah, they live at SDSU, but they're going to get in the way.
Give me 3 people.
Yeah. Right. So we got it down to a core group, and I was the only non-faculty member on the branding team. So, I helped pick the agency to do everything and worked with them, designed all new logo, branding, tagline, and that was really cool to go through that whole process, because I had to work with the committee, but then I had to make changes behind with the most important people.
Yeah.
Because politics and whatever.
Well, good thing that you know how to navigate circles like that pretty well.
I navigated.
I'm sure you did.
I didn't want to hurt people's feelings because they worked so hard on things. But when it came down to the right decisions, they're not making the right decisions.
Yeah.
And so, continue right now, still mentoring at Newport Harbor, not at SDSU. I sit on a sports committee, and I've chaired. I started the NEIL program down there.
What is it?
NIL.
Oh, you did?
In the beginning.
Wow.
When it was just cowboys and Indians and just like out of control. And I didn't understand it.
I still don't understand it.
I know. I stepped away.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. I go, I can't be a part of this. So I stepped away. And I've helped them rebrand the athletics department. And
sounds like you're working pretty hard for a retired guy.
well, there was a lot of fun in between.
Okay, good.
A lot of trips around the world, surfing and snowboarding and having fun and enjoying life. And that's
how important is travel?
Travel is like up there, like number 2 or 3.
What's number 1, 2?
Family, number 1. Number 2 is self-happiness. Number 3 is traveling.
Rad. Surf is part of all 3, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, it's right there.
For sure.
I mean, it's like, it's my church. It's my life.
Let me ask you this.
My universe.
That's so rad. And I say it all the time.
And now paddling.
And paddling.
And by the way,
Okay.
when we talk about mentoring, you have been a mentor to me
What?
in so many different ways, bro.
Wow.
I just want to come clean.
I love that. Thank
Because the first time I met you, I'm like, I want to be like this guy. No lie, bro. I was like, you were so cool. And just, I saw your program, how important everything was. The gear, the just everything. You were just so into it. And then I, learned more about you. And then I was like, hell yes. And then I saw you perform. And I'm like, that guy's a freaking bull. I want to be a bull like him. And then that one day when we were paddling, we were in front of Crystal Cove and you came up next to me. And that was an epiphany. Just like, that rocked my world. You made one change to my paddling, and that changed everything. Wow. I became faster, more efficient, no cramping, and it pretty much changed my whole path in prone paddling.
Rad. Well, listen, thank you. That makes me feel really good. I love that. Thank you. I mean, I'm passionate about mentoring. That's why I asked.
You're a mentor to so many.
Oh, well,
so many people look up to you, and they take your word of wisdom as the Bible. It's like the best.
Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Coming from you, that means quite a bit. And I'm stoked that I had any little bit of help with you. But I would have blamed if you would have said, I picked up my speed from something. I would have said, no, I think it's from your hydration mix. So, Tom, let's talk paddling real quick. So you've surfed your whole life. We've talked all about it. You've lived within eyeshot of that island, Catalina Island, 30 miles offshore, for a long time. We don't have time to talk about all the architecture and the beautiful homes you've built, but you've had a view of that island and you've surfed in eyeshot of that island your whole life. And you have a boat and you go across. Had you ever paddled across it before?
No.
When was the first time?
The Bend.
Which year?
Last year.
Bend 10.0.
10.0.
Okay, so
life-changing.
Let's talk about it. Tell me about the whole thing.
Well, it started off with, I'm at a event with Joe Stapleton, mayor of Newport, and Joe is a good friend. And he's like, are you doing the Bend? And I'm like, I heard about it for years. And I'm like, well, whatever. And he goes, don't be a pussy. And I'm like, what did you just say? He goes, don't be a pussy. I'm like, I'm on, I'm in, I'm down. Next day, went and bought a board at Vessel, rode down with him, and I started paddling with Joe and that whole group. And all of a sudden, it was like a drug. I just needed more. I needed more and more paddling. And I was paddling 4 days a week and surfing 3, or surfing 5 and paddling 2. And then by the time the Bend came, I was paddling easily 4 days strictly just paddling.
Yeah, and you got really, really fast.
I would get in the zone.
You get in the zone as much as anybody I've ever seen, Thom. And what's funny is the time that you mentioned when I paddled up next to you, we have a whole crew. We keep everybody together. And then there's Thom, way in by the. I'm like, who is that? Oh, it's Thom. And I paddle over. So one of your nicknames. What's one of your nicknames?
Inside job.
Inside job, Thom. And you have a group. What's the group called?
The Kook Brothers.
It is so classic. Of all people that isn't a kook to brand it, I'm sure you came up with it, the Kook Brothers. No, wasn't you?
So it was Alyssa, Joe, Jake, and myself. We were paddling around.
Every name you just said have sat in that chair. Everyone has been on the podcast.
I'm honored.
Oh, dude.
So we were paddling, and we started talking about where we grew up. And Joe's like Arizona, and Jake's like, I forget where.
He's from Fresno.
Fresno.
Or Bakersfield, one of the two.
Yeah. And so Joe goes, we're just kooks. And then I think Jake or someone else or me, I don't know who said, we're Kook Brothers.
It's so funny.
And all of a sudden, that's
and then
how
Alyssa,
it started.
who brands everything, everything. Right?
Yeah.
It's so great.
We had hats. I paddle every single time with my fluorescent green Kook Brothers hat.
So great. Hey, it's good.
It's like
religiously be seen out there.
Yeah.
So tell me about, I'm going to jump over real quick. Now that let's not do that. Tell me about the bend, the day we did the crossing. Tell me about crossing that channel, prone paddle, after all these years looking at it under your own power. How was that?
So the week before, I talked to Spencer. Purdy.
Who's also sat right there.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, tell me about like hydration and food. Like, what do you do? And he laid out a program, and I'm like, sounds good to me. So actually it was like maybe a month prior. So I, with the Just Live, hydration, and Infinite, I combined them both, and that was my secret sauce.
It works.
And then, dates and peanut butter and honey sandwiches. So the main thing he pressed was eat before, eat a good meal. Yeah. And before that, surfing, I couldn't eat before I surfed. I'd throw up. Oh. But I
trained
myself to eat and paddle. And so, I woke up the night before, classic. Walk into the meeting beforehand, and I look around, I see legends. I see the Greg Long and his crew, and I'm like, damn, Greg Long's here. And then I see all the best paddlers and like all the boys, and it was so sincere and so unique and so like authentic. There was no like
egos.
It was all about everyone coming together for Ben, for the foundation, for the right thing. And I felt like so much love, and I saw people I haven't seen in years. And so after that, we go out to dinner, and I go to bed. I wake up in the hallway at the hotel. Everyone has their boards. Everyone's woo, so all stoked. We're all like, and then we get down there, and it was like I'm looking across, and the sun hasn't even like came up yet, and I'm like, oh my God, today's the day. And I'm like, God, am I ready? I was like going through my head. And I'm like, you know what? It's just like paddling out at sunset on a huge day, and you're just taking sets on the head for 7 hours. It's not going to be that bad. And so I was ready. My body was ready. And we took off, and that first mile, I couldn't even feel the water. I was so nervous and so just like trying to loosen up. But I saw everybody was doing the same thing. They were going through the same process, except the guys like you and everyone else that have done it. And I'm just like, wow. And then we stop and we talk like, okay, it starts now. And all of a sudden, I just started booking. And I booked, and I never got off the first or second line.
Never. You were at the front the whole time.
And Joe was right there.
Yep.
And Joe and you know, the rest of the Kook brothers were in and out, and we were just, and I'm paddling with buddies and friends, and everyone's pushing each other, and then I'm just like, I'm not losing my spot, because Alyssa said, don't be in the back when you finish, because you miss out on things.
Yep.
And I'm like, that was in my head. Be up front because you don't want to miss out. So just pound it the whole way. And I never did I feel like I couldn't make it. And I remember.
Was it fun?
It was so much fun. I had a blast because everybody was like doing their deal, and you competing but not, talking but not, achieving, pushing. I mean, it was awesome. And I remember when we stopped halfway, we went underwater. And that was magical, how blue the water was. Oh, it was just like, oh my God, I didn't want to even come up. I wanted to breathe underwater like I've done my whole life. And I came up, and after that, I just got fired up. And I remember mile 26. I'm like, Joe's here, and I'm like, kind of like to the side of him. And he looks at me, he goes, we're going to make it. And I got super emotional.
Wow.
I go, we're going to make it, bro. And all of a sudden, it was that last 4 miles, I couldn't feel the water. I was just, you can start to see, you know, Saddleback, and, you know, then all of a sudden you see Fashion Island, and then you're just like, I felt like I was planing. Just, and then, you know, we stopped at the pier, and then just coming up in my family, my wife had signs of me, and all my bros from elementary, high school, college, they were all there.
So rad.
It was just, you know, and then all the bros that came, that it was just magical.
Dude.
And
So
all
rad.
the hugs and you know, and I look back and I saw Catalina, and I'm like, holy shite. I just paddled 30 miles. And then I'm like, what's next?
What is next? You gonna do it again?
Well, I'm pretty focused on it. By June, I'll know, because that's when I'm going to step it up.
Gotcha.
But I want to get more people involved, and that's my key thing. Is like, so many people reached out to me after I did it and said, I want to do it next year. And they're paddling like down at Dana Point. And so I need to get that crew up here to, like, you know, NAC, get them like involved in the whole deal.
Yeah.
In the program. So
Epic.
but you know what? The Carlson Foundation changed my life. I mean, so much perspective. The people involved, I mean, they're authentic. The family, the people, you know, like yourself, the paddlers. You know, I ride my bike by the statue, and I stop every single time. And it's like, I get like chills. And now I get like hot flashes. Because it means so much more.
For sure. Anytime you do something big and you do it for a cause, like, it's so much more powerful. Like, and that's what I've learned over all the years of doing the Catalina Classic for a cause. Like, you're doing it for other people that want to but can't, aren't here any longer. Yep. Like, there's such power there, and you have a lot of time when you're paddling or doing anything for that many hours. Like, you go through all kinds. Like, you go through like euphoria to like the deepest, darkest pain caves to what am I doing? And then you know, there's a lot of emotions you go through, and I'm glad that you experience those when you're out there, because it is super powerful and it's a hell of an accomplishment. I always say you never look at the island the same once you've done that. Never. So great, Tom. Yeah, it's so great to have you out there.
I'm so fortunate to be able to see Catalina every night, and every day I look at it and go, I've done that channel.
Yeah, so good.
Intimately,
for sure. Tom, I'm gonna I'm going to close this out with a quote, because I think anybody listening has picked up on this throughout. Like, I love a lot of what you stand for and how you've done it and how you built it. And it's super rad. But you'll figure out who wrote this or who shared this with me, but I think it says a lot, and we'll end on this one. So here's the quote. There are so many fun and amazing things about Thom. Shared belly laughs on the water. He is humble, funny, talented, and genuine, and so kind. He cares about people, truly. I love his mentorships that he does with the kids. He has so much to offer and to share with them. I never felt small around him. I felt like I could sit at his table anytime. He has a way of meeting you where you are.
Wow.
It's so cool. Like,
wow.
I hope somebody can say something about me someday like that, because it's pretty magic. But I think it speaks volumes, and I think that kind of represents this story of this life you've built around, I think, passion and determination, and you've learned a lot, and mentors and being a mentor. And I don't know, it seems like a really rad cyclical thing there, where like, give what you get what you give, and do 100%. Cool things, and never slow down, and live with, like, I love when you talked about the culture of McElroy Communications, and like, that's where everybody would want to be.
Yep.
Like, how freaking cool. So, dude, it's such a rad story, and super proud. And I want to say that if anybody wants to go deeper into this details, you did a podcast, you've done a lot of these, but you've done a podcast with our buddies, Lyndon and Jay, on Late Night with Chalky, and you guys went like over 3 hours. So if you want more details about any of the story, it's on there. Those are good friends of ours. Check it out. If people wanted to find you, I know you're retired now. Is there a way to find you on social media or anywhere? If anybody wanted to consult with you?
I have an IG account. I'm not like, today's my son's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
So I'll do a post. I'm pivotal, and tomorrow's my anniversary, so I'll do a post.
Rad.
I only post really important things, but I do look at Instagram, and that's about it. Just DM me, you know?
Cool. What's your, do you remember? I can share it.
Thom McElroy.
Thom McElroy. That's Thom.
THOMMCELROY.
Let me ask you this before we go. We can't end without talking about your family. Give a quick, your beautiful wife who is in school politics, right?
School politics.
That's got to be that could be a whole nother podcast. What's that been like in this environment to be going through that whole process?
That's a whole new can of worms.
Whole nother one.
Whole nother. Yeah. So she sits on the Newport Mesa School District Board, and she was elected 8 months ago, and now she has to go through another election in November. So she has to rerun.
Yuck.
She's crushing it.
I'm sure.
Incredible. Like, making a difference. And it's not a fun world all the time, because people attack you, and it's pretty gnarly. And when they started attacking me, that's when it got serious, when she was running. And so that stopped because I had it stopped, because she's running, not me.
Yeah. You have to draw lines. It's a scary time in the world. Kudos to you and your family and to her for putting your necks out there to do good,
and she
to make
does.
A difference.
And she does, like, she pushes the envelope to make the schools better for the kids, safer, better educated. And
unfortunately, no good deed goes unpunished these days, right?
Oh yeah. You never hear about the good things. You only hear about the bad things with school board in anything. And then I have 3 kids, 2 from my previous marriage, Colin and Tucker. And then with Andrea, I have Savannah. So
awesome.
The girl in the mix. Love them all. We have a great family, and it's just, I'm truly blessed to be able to have that family and all the relatives and all the friendships and all the worldly things we have, the ocean, the mountains, earth, the desert. We're so blessed. And I've always said that, it all happened because I chased my passion. I took risk. I surrounded myself with really good people. And when I believed in myself, that's when I was most successful. And I made things happen. So those were the 4 things I look back at now that made me who I am. So that's
the
kind
story
of in a nutshell.
I love the final 4. Thanks for sharing those, because those are, I guess, the foundational blocks of your story. And your story is incredible. Thanks for sharing it, dude. This is so rad. I hope I see you out on the Ben did 11. Ben did go 11.0. But regardless, keep doing the rad stuff. Thanks for sharing.
Brother.
You're the man.
Thanks for
Tom.
having me.